Welcome to Star-Powered Astrology for Changemakers. I'm Leslie Tagorda, your guide, a Hawaii-born Filipino-Jewish astrologer who loves navigating visionaries like you through the spiritual journey of your work so that you can be inspired to lead by your chart and become the luminary leader you were born to be. Hello, luminaries. I am back with such an exciting episode. I have a friend and guest, Rachel Yellin, who is going to be sharing what it means to live a feel-good life. Rachel has worked with women for many years as a therapist and a healing coach, as a yoga teacher and a birth professional. And that's actually how we got to meet each other, probably back in like 2013. When I was getting ready to have my baby. And I got recommended to Rachel's program at the time, Yes to Birth. And we have been fast friends since then, getting to work together and grow together. So I am so excited to bring my friend Rachel Yellin to the show. Hello, welcome, Rachel.
So happy to be here, and thank you for that really sweet introduction. It's a very mutual love fest.
Oh, wonderful. So, gosh, in the last few years, you have really transitioned so many things in your life and your business. Like you uprooted from San Francisco and moved yourself to the East Coast in Charleston. You've uprooted some of your birthing work, like really your powerful birthing work, and have really shifted into this new space. Can you tell us about these grand shifts that you've been going through?
They're big, they're vast, and I will just start by saying I feel better than I've ever felt in my entire life. And when just listening into myself, just listening in, like something needed to shift and moved, and I didn't know where I was going. I know what I was leaving, but I didn't know where I was going. And since I listened to that, everything just, unfolded. And, I still do the Yes to Birth work, through video classes and my audio program, but the shift has really uh, come through this nervous system rewiring and pleasure training. And it's sort of code for trauma healing, but nobody really wants to do trauma healing. People just want to feel better. So this gets to the root of like how trauma lands in the body, but it's done through very gentle and effective and connected ways.
Well, I mean, you've been doing some kind of iteration of this deep healing work for like your entire career, and just how it adds on layer upon layer. Of course, I'm looking at your chart, Rachel, and you have your Scorpio Sun in the seventh house of collaborations and co-creations. You have your Aries moon next to Chiron, which we haven't really talked about, you and I, in the 12th house, that safety and that need to be me and like my whole spiritual dreamy me. And then that Taurus rising, which that Taurus rising is that comfort and that coziness and that pleasure and that luxuriousness in the body, which you're fully stepping into with this feel good life, and calming the nervous system and calming the body, not only just calming it, but like making it feel delicious.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. I love that I love that my chart is so accurate. It's so accurate what you're saying. It's just, and it's heavenly to hear that. It's
Yes.
really feels good to be more aligned. And you and I had, a reading in the past, which was very helpful for me to come into a greater state of acceptance of these different parts of myself.
Yeah.
And so that created a lot of opening to not criticize or look down on these certain qualities that some people may have trouble with, or that I might have had trouble with, and say, oh, I'm this multifaceted being, and I can attune to and welcome all these different parts of myself.
Yes. And then thinking about all of the the transitions and the changes and that kind of expansion you went through back in 2017 when you were moving to Charleston and just kind of really uprooting your life, we see that by Pluto, who crossed your midheaven, the top of your chart, say, oh, we're going to just like take apart the whole structure. And this is going to feel really uncertain for a little bit. But now that Pluto has mostly passed there, you really feel that sense of empowerment that you might not have really known what was going through at that time. You just knew you needed to do it.
Correct. That's totally accurate.
Oh my goodness. So I want to hear more about just like how you have kind of found this place about the nervous system and like what prevents people from, or women really, from feeling truly good and well in their lives.
Oh, let's all just take a deep breath.
Center and calm our nervous system.
Like a deep breath into the nose and a slow blow out through the mouth, kind of like you're blowing an elevator down from your brain into your chest and just landing in the body. So I really appreciate this question. And what I get from the question that you're really asking is ultimately, what is it that takes women away from their living their feel-good life? What is it that takes people away from really thriving instead of just surviving? Is this kind of what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of things that I could say, but ultimately, if I had to pick one thing, I could only say one thing. I would say it's trauma. Now, there's known trauma, but then there's unidentified trauma. People who've had obvious trauma, what we call in the trauma space as the big T trauma, people know that they have that. But the little T trauma, that often goes very unacknowledged, passed over. Oh, it wasn't that bad. It was like, oh, well, but my mom was sick, so she didn't have a lot of time for me. Or, my parents fought so much that like, it makes sense that they, didn't like read to me or cuddle me before bed, or like these kinds of things that really do land as trauma in the body. So I think that that was my experience, when I realized, wow, like I had neglect. Even though I had a roof over my head and clothes on my back, and I went to a private school, and I, went to a summer camp, and I had all that I was actually deeply emotionally neglected and physically neglected. And I never understood that. With all the years of therapy that I had done, with all the years of yoga and, shamanism and all the things, all the woo-woo and science-based and therapeutic things that I had done, I never got that. And that awakening to what actually was trauma for me, that's what was like the click, the wheel going, oh, click, there's something much deeper, and that trauma is in my body. I could talk myself out of it, or I could use other skills, but the issues are in the tissues. The issues are in the tissues, and we have to work with trauma at the site where the trauma occurred. We can't talk our way through healing trauma. So I would say that's the first thing. Now, do I get space to like say a couple other things?
Oh, you have as much space as you like, Rachel. And then I have some ideas.
Let me like hold that for a second. And then the other couple of things that I think really take women away from living their best life is like internal obligation, feeling internally like I have to do this and I have to do that. And I have all these responsibilities and demands and a feeling of like being perfect.
Yes.
If I just read to my kid every single night and I do it for 30 minutes, then I'll feel worthy and I did a good job and I'm okay. And the pressure of that. So there's a lot of internal obligation, a lot of perfectionism. And I say that word lightly because I am a recovering perfectionist. With a lot of compassion for that. Even preparing for this talk today, I was like, oh, I gotta like say this and I gotta say that.
So, I see you as imperfectly perfect. You are absolutely perfect, Rachel.
Correct. So that's another thing. And then a couple other things that I think really take women away from living, their feel-good life is either a loss of or a lack of cultivation of two different things. One, it says I had it and then I lost it. The other one says like I never got to grow it. is my connection to my sensuality, my
Mhm.
sexuality, my creativity in my womb or in my womb space. If right, I can not have a uterus and still feel like I have a womb space. And that, the ability to heal that, to cultivate that, to grow that, to restore that is one of the greatest ways that women come back into or create anew their best life.
Mm. I love all of that, Rachel, because what I see when I'm looking at your chart between that Taurus, your Taurus rising, which is how you show up as a leader, like how you initiate that guidance. Again, that Taurus is super embodied. It's very like luxuriating. It wants peace and cozy comfort. The pleasure isn't so much for like the pleasure's sake. The pleasure is more to feel connected to your body and like luxurious, just like ooey gooey yummy in your body, right? And so you're guiding women in that way. And the people that love you the most, your soul customers, your soul collaborators, your ideal customers, embody that Scorpio archetype. And what you're talking about, the traumas, the big T and the little t, Scorpio has the ability to dive deep under the shadows and like uncover, go through under each and every rock that was hidden. But what the Scorpio is really needing to learn is not just where that trauma is, but to trust in themselves and to turn the shame of trauma, right? Like what you were talking about, just because I had privilege, I didn't think it was okay for me to complain about the neglect that I got. Or just because I have a roof over my head, and like trying to be perfect, I didn't think it was okay to complain how tired I was to be able to read to my son every night. And so that Scorpio is really like transmuting that guilt and that shame and that trauma into trust and empowerment.
I mean, everything that you're saying, that's my journey, right? My journey,
Yes.
the deepest layers of really learning to trust. There's the trust in like the universe, but much greater is actually the deepest trust in myself. And though it's interesting because, it's funny, as you're saying things and things are, clickety clicking in my head. And I realize when I look at, the amount of wellness that has occurred for me since I started this work and how that has come to be, it's by spending such like this delicious time in myself.
Mhm.
This, right, the pleasure of just laying on my floor with a fur blanket over me, with my hands on my stomach, and just holding my body and feeling my body and learning that I can feel everything, that I can feel everything and I can trust that I will be okay, even when I feel the gut-wrenching despair or the high of something.
Mhm.
That feeling everything. And it's funny as I say that because sometimes I'm even still, I get resistant to the amazing feelings that I have. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's totally here. I don't know what to do with that good feeling. The smallest things like watching my cats play together, and I feel this joy come over me. And it's like authentic, in the moment, real time joy. And I can see sometimes I'm like holding my mouth,
Yeah.
from having a big smile. And it's like, this is what joy is. And I can trust that I can have that expansive joy and that nothing bad will happen. And if it does, or when it does, because bad things
Yeah.
happen, that I'll still be okay. I mean,
Yes.
it's amazing. So I'm loving this what you're validating so deeply from my chart into my own, into my own experience, my real-time experience.
Yes. Well, with your Scorpio sun in the seventh house and thinking about your ideal customers, like you are both on the same journey. So everything that you're learning to trust and to go through and to not bypass, like that is the trust of Scorpio, is to not bypass the challenge and the pain and to work through it, like you said, to trust and feel all of it. That's the biggest trust that you are learning for yourself and giving back to your clients.
You know, I'm you're speaking to something that I hadn't really considered, Leslie, which, the piece about my ideal client.
Mhm.
And I think, of course, that's like where a big piece of your magic is right, honing in on this. And, it's almost like I want to go back and listen, I'm going to go back and listen to this. Like, oh, right. These are the people that I'm talking to. And what's interesting, as I was preparing for today, I thought to myself, one of the questions, I don't remember what it was exactly that you asked me to think about, which is like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And I realized that, since I was 19, well, really before that, but ultimately since I was 19, I had an ulcer. And, and then it just like my challenges progressed with anxiety and depression and all kinds of stuff. And so for 25 years, I have been working it, like in every angle. I mean, if you want to know the list, it's like, with the yoga and the acupuncture and the EMDR and like the shamanism and the ceremonies and the list goes on and on. And it's like, if I could just take the 25 years, really 30 years at this point, being 50 now, take these 30 years. And if I could like speed up, help someone speed up their own process so they don't have to slog through all of these things, which are wonderful. I mean, yoga's amazing and acupuncture's amazing. Like all these things are amazing. Dance, I mean, all the things. It's fantastic. And there's something more like core to it that's about like folding inside and cuddling up with the deepest layers of the self that I think is really essential. And potentially you're illuminating for me the piece about the Scorpio nature and what it means to really trust yourself and to trust that I could be responsible for most of my own happiness. Like, as I like to say, 90% of my happiness is dependent on me. 10% I can get from the world around me.
Yes.
And big change, big difference than I'm going outside and where are my friends and where about my work and what about my partnership and what about my kids or my animals or my whatever. And that has totally like done with that.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I love that so much. One of the things that when you were mentioning, like kind of the health things that you've learned to be able to accommodate the pressure, and you were talking about your soul customers and how you help them break through that cycle of perfection. Perfection is definitely one of those key aspects of your ideal customer, because you have Mars, the ruler of Scorpio, in the sixth house. And so, in a way, when you were battling at 19, I can just imagine this ulcer, like you were at war with this idea of of perfection in yourself.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now,
compassion and emotion arising, for that 19-year-old self that was really in a struggle, after parents divorcing and, all around that time. And the who am I? Really the deep, who am I? And if I could just be good enough, right? If I could just do enough, if I could just, right? Yeah.
yes. So when we think about how you've like the journey that you've traveled, and now that you're contributing back into the world, how you have really literally, figuratively, and just literally created peace with wholeness and balance, instead of this like grasping for this ideal of perfection that just doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't. It really
That
doesn't.
that's full circle, Rachel. That's huge.
I know. And it's funny because, you know me from, doing like all my website stuff and, everything that we worked on before, and the angst, all around that, and the pressure all around it, even after decades of working on myself.
Yeah.
It really is, this piece about this nervous system rewiring and this pleasure, settling into pleasure that has, created so much more ease. And what's so interesting, I don't know why I feel compelled to say this, but I do so much less now than I ever did before.
And are you way more impactful?
I think so.
Oh, yes, you are.
I do. I think so. I think so.
You are. So your Aries moon in the 12th house is like, yes, not only when I can do less and make things easier, I'm safe to be, and I'm so much more like impactful. Like it's just like it's so wonderful. Um, so coming back to like just the amazing work that you do for people that you've like picked up on your journey, right? Like you've been on this like lifelong quest to heal that sense of perfection and that like that sense of trauma and guilt and just like all of the things, but you've woven this back through this brilliance that you have learned about anxiety. Can you tell me more about anxiety and why like it's endemic among women?
Yeah. I mean, are you asking me why is it that people feel so anxious?
Yeah, like why do we have so much anxiety and how can we like deal with it?
Yeah, totally. Okay, so this is a really, really big topic. I mean, the simplest way that I can explain it is that so as human beings, we're mammals. If you think about, we watch the National Geographic show and you see a bunch of gazelles, drinking by the water. Their nervous system is what I would call like in the green state. They're just like, they're relaxed, they're at peace, they're flowing. At some point, there is a signal. Someone in the herd gets a signal that the lion's coming, and all of them, their nervous system ramps up very fast into the red, and they all start to bolt. You see, it's beautiful, right? They're running. It's like really something. And then one gazelle gets taken down. The second the gazelle gets taken down, all the other gazelles stop. And they stop, they slow down, and they shake their bodies, and they go back to the water and they drink in the river. That's how the nervous system is supposed to work. The nervous system should be in the green most of the time. When something intense happens, we're supposed to just literally be able to shake it off and then be able to move back into, a state of relaxation. But as human beings, what happens again and again and again, not only are we getting more and more figuratively lions chasing us, right? We're on the road, there's a car, it cuts us off. That's the equivalent. The nervous system goes bing, right? We are picking our kid up from school and there's a group of women talking and they all look over their shoulder at us and like, we think that they're talking about us and that's bing, nervous system. I mean, I could give you 50 examples of how that goes for people.
Just this morning. Every morning.
Yeah, it's constant, the amount that we're inundated with, and even things like forgetting to turn your cell phone off in the middle of the night and it pings you and you're startled. Mm-hmm. So we are tolerating being figuratively chased by the lion again and again and again and again. And a lot of people who are listening to this, not watching us, but I'm holding up a ball jar that's filled with liquid. Okay, think of a quart jar filled with liquid. If this is our nervous system, this ball jar, if every day we're going, the level's going up, it's going down, we get attacked, we're getting depleted, over time, you cannot keep bringing the levels back down into the green, relaxed state. The level goes up, 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 where the nervous system becomes programmed until you have one little centimeter, one little quarter centimeter at the top of the jar before the liquid's going to flow over. Yeah, and you have no bandwidth, no room to deal with like your kid just dropped their Cheerios all over the back seat of the car.
Oh yeah, don't get me started.
For it, because there's no spaciousness, because the nervous system is just jacked up over and over again. Now, when you're walking around with, again, try to go with the visual, only a quarter centimeter of space at the top of the ball jar before the water is overflowing.
Your capacity, zero.
So you can't recover yourself. And so the nervous system then over time gets trained to be in that vigilant. You're going to be the gazelle who's standing at the water, like sip and look over your shoulder, sip and look over your shoulder, sip and look over your shoulder. And then the digestion, you can't even absorb properly. Your digestion starts to break down because you're constantly looking for that trauma to happen. And the nervous system, even when you try to relax, I don't know if anybody here has gone to acupuncture and or craniosacral therapy,
Mm-hmm.
lay on the table and the second you start to relax, you shake or you startle, you go, that
Yeah.
is an unwinding response. That's the nervous system saying, I don't even know how to relax anymore. That when I relax, I get scared. This was what used to happen to me. I avoided, Leslie, going on vacation for years because every time I would go on vacation, I would get crazily anxious because my nervous system was so used to being busy, 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 go, go, go. I would be up at 8 a.m. I would, go to births all night. I would teach my yoga classes. I would see my private, alternative therapy clients. It was go, 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 go. Even when I was doing self-care things, the relaxation was so uncomfortable that I couldn't even hang with it. Or I would go on vacation, I would get sick.
Mm.
Big one.
Yeah.
So these are all indicators where you're like, I can't even lay down on the couch to read a book because I feel like I'm stressed.
Yeah.
I'd rather get something done.
I didn't know that about the nervous system. Like, I'm just seeing it as kind of like a clogged drain because, like, yesterday I was like unclogging my son's side of like son's drain. It was like clogged with all of this toothpaste that was just like gunking up there. And like the water was just getting higher and higher and higher. And I had no idea that was the same thing as our nervous system getting clogged up, that we're just completely losing capacity to even bring our nervous system down. And we've built a new floor essentially of just being able to chill.
Big time. It's a really big time. And it's really interesting. So I, of course, I have a lot of women who come into my work, into my Feel Good Life program, and they can't look at themselves in the mirror and say anything kind to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They can't lay down on the floor to do practices with their eyes closed. There is so much stress, so much tension, this feeling of like not feeling safe. And if we look at, if you remember like Psychology 101, you remember hierarchy of needs? Do you remember that? This
the
may be
the needs, say it again.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Oh yes.
So all of you listening who took Psych 101, you learned about Maslow, Abraham Maslow, and he was like a positive psychologist, and he actually studied the people who like were really thriving in life and what they needed in order to thrive. This is like, he studied a very small percent. It was like 1% of the population. It was very small, and less than 1% actually. And he determined that there's this hierarchy of needs that says at the foundation, we need to have like the basic needs met of food and shelter and water. That's like the basic. Sleep. Then from there, if we have that, we can progress to the next level, which is safety. If we have safety, then we can progress to a sense of love and belonging. If we have love and belonging, we can progress to having really good self-esteem. If we have really good self-esteem, we can progress to having self-actualization. Okay? So what's happening now is that a lot of people have like the shelter and the food and, sleep.
I don't know about that. Yeah.
So you have all the, like, I'll just talk about, I particularly work with cisgendered women, and many of whom are married with kids, married without kids, single with kids, single without kids. So it's kind of every variation. And if there's a sleep issue, many of them have sleep challenges. And then they're wondering why they're feeling badly about themselves, or why they're not writing that book that they wanted to write, or why they're not why they're still in that job that they've like hated their boss for 5 years. And it's like, well, because you're not sleeping, and then on top of that, you're not feeling safe. Not feeling necessarily safe inside of yourself. You're not feeling necessarily safe in the world, or safe in your marriage, or safe in your partnership, or whatever it is. So the expectation that people are going to have this great self-esteem and the self-actualizing of realizing their dreams and being, when I say like abundant, successful, happy, joyful, all of that, which I think of in the field of self-actualization.
Yeah.
You can't have that. It's very difficult. The people who are self-actualized, who don't have the bottom layers of safety, love, belonging, are people who generally have just really efforted, and there's some magical karma that they have like worked really, really hard and something lights up for them. But most of us, it's not like that.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love hearing you talk about this because that's something that we in my programs and like my clients, we work through a lot. And of course, my clients being more the entrepreneurs and the change makers. So it's not necessarily about the job. And one of the things that they often come to me with is like, how do I get out of this place of procrastination and really guilting themselves and feeling so much shame for not getting up and like doing like the big thing. And of course, from astrology, I'm talking about it from the moon sign, which the moon sign does show us these places where we can cultivate our own emotional security first and emotional safety. Because if our emotions are out of whack, then they're going to hijack us either to make decisions and take actions based on fear. But when we're feeling secure, we can easily get to that place of self-actualization. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like we don't have to like have everything in that safety and security net to get to that place of self-actualization. Like we have to like we work on all, to me, we're working on all four parts of those the psych 101 I forget the terminology. We're working on all four parts of those to create this holistic view. Otherwise people will still be waiting for it to be perfect if they don't have that security piece like locked in.
You know, like I'm the how-to of that, what you're talking,
Yes.
what I'm teaching inside of my process is like, I would say to all of your listeners, I would say that that piece about procrastination, like I'm procrastinating, I'm not motivated. There's tremendous wisdom in the procrastination. The procrastination is there because it's wanting you to pay attention to something else. Something else is wanting to be nourished. It's wanting to be tended to. It's wanting to be adored and addressed. And when that happens, the gates just open naturally, and it's not effortful to create that thing that you want to create. Or the thing, it's possible that the thing that you're wanting to create is not aligned with your soul's purpose. So whereas you're pushing and striving to make it happen, there's something else that the soul is really, really longing for. And the way that we allow our soul to lead is by slowing down, by doing less, even for a short period of time during the day. I always tell people it's 45 minutes, 45 minutes a day to go to do these practices, to do this unstressing, this rewiring, this nourishing. It's 45 minutes. I don't have 45 minutes. You know what, sister? We got a problem. We got a problem. That's like saying I don't have time to feed my baby, or I don't have time to like go poop, or like this is where the epidemic or the pandemic is.
Mm-hmm.
The pandemic is in the I don't have time, but I promise, like in every cell of my being, I swear, like guaranteed, right hand raised, 45 minutes a day of going inward and working inside of the nervous system, working inside of your own sensuality, working inside of your own, I don't want to say working, resting into, feeling,
playing into.
Yes, it saves hundreds of hours of indecision, hundreds of hours of irritation with your kids, your partner, your job, your whatever you're doing. It gives you clarity. Like it gives you clarity into what is actually needed here. Like the attunement changes. So I really like, for all of your people, like this piece, the procrastination is giving you information. It's a whisper from your soul that's telling you something needs to align differently to be so honoring of who you really are. And the only way that I know after 30 plus years of all of this is to go inside and be with yourself.
Yes, the whisper to your soul.
Whisper to the soul.
Oh my goodness. I love that, Rachel, so much. So tell us, so we are here because you are releasing into this world a beautiful new group coaching program. Oh, another cohort of your group coaching program for cisgendered women. And I imagine that most of these women are going through something in their midlife just because of the transits that you're having. You're having I don't know if you know, but you're having your Chiron return right now. That's a whole nother thing. You're having your Chiron return. You're having so many beautiful things that are getting crystallized right now. And I wonder if you could tell us more about your Feel Good Life program, who it's for, what you'll be doing, all the things.
Thanks for asking. I thought you'd
Sure.
never. I really I love this program. I love the women. There have been, over 100 women who've gone through it at this point. And it is, who is it for? It's like hard to distill it down because the range of women, I mean, ages have been, I've had from 23 to 72 so far. I have had, like I said, married, single, divorced, blah, 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 all the things. I've had straight women, I've had lesbian women, I've had like all different kinds of people. And I find it incredible that the same, like 4 months, 12 modules, they're all going through the same content. It lands perfectly for everyone who actually shows up for it.
Got to show up.
They come to the classes and they do the practices. It works. Yeah. So I would say, if I had to distill it down, it's really for women who know on a deeper level that they are awesome. Like they know it. Like inside they're like, I'm really great. I'm so great, but I don't feel great. Like they feel fine, but they want to feel fabulous. They know a lot. They've done a lot, right? They've had coaches. They've, done maybe some therapy, or they've done some medicine ceremonies, or they've done, trainings of sorts. I have women in my program. I have integrative psychiatrists, nurses, therapists. Like all different kinds of women. And, they know a lot, they've done a lot, but they still don't feel great. There's often like this anxious, stressed, stuck, exhausted experience. And, and I guess, you didn't specifically ask me this, but what I would say, to all those women, for whom, this is resonating, that it's like, I really wish that that women would know that you can actually feel really, really great in the midst of a life that's full of challenges, responsibilities, demands. Like the feeling great is possible during a messed up political world. Feeling great is possible during a pandemic. Feeling great is possible when there's been a horrific earthquake, somewhere that it's actually possible. And this, kind of touches my heart so deeply. And all of my, I've been a yogini since half my life ago, so 25 years. And, it's easy to be a monk on the top of the mountain in the Himalayas. It is, but to stand, it's like, as Ram Dass talks about, teacher Ram Dass, as he talks about, to be able to stand in the streets of Calcutta and witnessing the devastation and the famine and the poverty, and to feel your feelings, to feel the compassion, to feel love, to feel connection, to feel everything, and to still feel good at the same time. That's the journey of the meditator. That's the journey of the feel good goddess. That is the journey.
That is powerful.
Yeah, it really is possible. It's the body and the soul. We are designed to feel joy. We're designed to feel peace. And it's just a matter of how to unwind, de-stress the body, because, it's like if I hold up that ball jar again and you see I have like an inch of liquid here at the bottom. the space above that, I didn't plan this actually. I was just
It's
drinking
perfect.
my glutathione and all my
Your
supplements.
lemon water.
So, but all this space, that's 4/5 space of this jar that's empty. That's my bandwidth for love. That's my bandwidth for creativity. That's my bandwidth for motivation. That's my bandwidth for sexuality and orgasm. If my jar is all full, like, what, you think I'm gonna like have a great orgasm when I'm like all, maxed out and stressed out? I mean, for some women that actually does. Some women we won't get into that, but some women do have really good stress orgasms, which is awesome. But it's important to see that what's available inside of, that clear space of the nervous system.
Increasing that capacity for your feel good life.
Yeah. So I know you asked me something, and I often get
that's okay.
Some other juicy things. So tell me again what it was you wanted to know.
I want you to share with us all the beautiful things that people will get if they decide to look up and join Feel Good Life.
Yeah, amazing. So first and foremost, there's a couple of things. So if people want to see what the program is, I mean, all the details, everything, it's really easy. Just go to rachelyellin.com. That's RACHELYELLIN.com/feel good. That will take you to the landing page, and everything, there's a video on there. There's like all the description of what's included and the 12 modules and the nervous system rewiring practices and what all the modalities are of like everything that I've mushed together, because people are like, well, what is it? And I'm like, well, it's some of this and it's some of that and it's some of this and it's some of that. So you can read all about it. The frequently asked questions give a ton of like detail for people who want to know that. And anybody who's interested can schedule a free coaching session with me. So they get 30 minutes with me, and I ask people to fill out an application ahead of time just so I can jump into the session like prepared to help them in some way in the moment. So I really want to invite people to do that. And ultimately the program is I mean, I could like tell you what my students say. It's like, oh, I went from feeling stuck, exhausted and miserable to feeling connected with my kids and dancing in my car instead of crying in my car. Like,
That's how stuff.
Our cars have become our offices for
yes.
So I mean, it's 4 months. It's intense. It's a commitment of time and money, and I want to say energy, but the return on that is huge. And actually the return on all of it is huge.
Oh yeah.
It's a 4 months intensive process, because it's kind of like, if I was going to say I'm going to run a marathon, would I just like put on my sneakers and go for a walk once a week? No, that's not going to.
You got to train, get ready, prepare, commit.
That's what we're doing with the nervous system. So we are, the time commitment is it's like 6 to 10 hours a week. And we are meeting live. Everything is live. It's an intensive process because, as it goes without saying, and some people don't necessarily think about this, but continuity is the secret to success. Continuity it's everything. So that is, that's it is. So it is what it is.
So 12 weeks of guided continuity with Rachel Yellin.
My doorbell rang because I have a new Feel Good Life desk chair that just arrived. Yeah, very excited. That this is where I learned that I actually matter the most. I was sitting in a chair for way too long. My hips and my back have been hurting. It's like, oh, the Feel Good Life has taught me that I matter, that I can prioritize my needs, that I can give myself these gifts. So I bought a new, very nice desk chair.
And beautiful, treating your body right, just like that Taurus rising.
I am treating my body.
So I have another question. Can you tell us more about your download? You also have a free nervous system rewiring practices, and I'm going to have those links on our show notes. So if you don't remember them, just head on over to the show notes at starpowered.com/podcast. But the Feel Good Life Now.com. So I'll say that again. The feelgoodlifenow.com has a free download. Can you tell us about that, Rachel?
6 free downloads. They're amazing. Yeah, they're totally amazing. There is the bye-bye anxiety, which is a breathwork process to, as the name would suggest, to regulate the nervous system and reduce anxiety. There's another one on there that's called deep body relaxation. That is a very powerful yoga nidra practice.
I need that one.
Crossing the midline over and over, side to side. It's so relaxing. And then there's the easy does it. There are 3 practices for different routines. One is called sexy energy and vitality movement practice. One is called body love. And then there's one other one that I'm blanking on the name right now. So you can download
all free.
5. Yeah, there's 5 of them on there. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So people, you have to understand that Rachel has been doing these like guided meditations well before anybody else has been doing them. And I can't believe you're giving those away for free. I'm going to go get the yoga nidra one. Like that is amazing. And it sounds like you need an app for this.
But in due time.
In due time. So everybody, so is there anything else that you want to leave us with, Rachel, before we close up for today? Because I am so excited for all those kind of Scorpio archetypes who want to like empower themselves and learn how to trust themselves and like really feel good in their powerful life. Rachel Yellin is your person. Yes.
Yeah, I think, the only thing that I want to leave people with ultimately is, first of all, my gratitude for sticking with us to get to this place of the podcast, that you've listened. And I don't know how else to say it. It's like, but if you had seen me when I was 26 in the psychiatric hospital, really, and then here I am today at 50.
Yeah.
And it's possible, so for anybody who's like, in any version of despair, in any version of like, this is just too hard, or it's not going to, get better, or even women who are like, my life is like really great, but there's just things that I just can't seem to accomplish, and I just want to feel overall better, whether it's for physical or mental or emotional or relational, any of that, like it's doable. And the key, I believe, this is my opinion, but I really believe it's in the nervous system bandwidth. I really do. With, a calm nervous system and well-adjusted, a regulated nervous system, we are capable. We are capable of so much.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing your wisdom and your wealth and your journey. I'm super excited for your upcoming cohort of Feel Good Life.
Me too. Thank you so much, Leslie. What a treat. Bye, everybody.
Bye. As a human design projector, my energy shines more brightly because of people like you who share my work. If you enjoy this podcast and want to help build a movement of innovative astrology and leadership and spark the intuitive revolution, please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, or better yet, share this podcast with your change-making besties. We will all shine brighter together as we create the future we want to see.